The movie kicks off with Marines pushing themselves to the limit at the United States Marine Corps base. Training is intense, from obstacle courses to grueling hand-to-hand combat. But one Marine stands out, Allison. She's fast, focused, and fierce until her trainer pulls a surprise attack, snapping her out of her victory and reminding her to always stay alert. Later, we meet Sam, a secret agent and Allison's uncle, who's clearly impressed with her skills. They grab a drink at a local bar and Sam shares some exciting news. He's getting her a spot at the White House. He's already got the general's approval. Allison's pumped, but can't help but wonder, is it because of her skills or just because she's family? Sam sets her straight. She's the best of the bunch. Meanwhile, news breaks that the president plans to form an alliance with Estonia, a country nestled near Russia, all over a controversial oil deal. The move sparks debate, but the president's set on it, pushing the agenda despite the backlash. The next day at the White House, the president sat in his office with the vice president, who expressed strong disapproval of his decision to cooperate with Estonia, citing concerns about the mafia controlling Estonia's oil. However, the president remained resolute in his stance. Meanwhile, Allison was now stationed at the White House. Sam gathered his team, issuing orders to prepare for the president's trip to Estonia to finalize the deal. He then turned to Allison, instructing her to accompany him as they would be escorting the president on Air Force One the following day. Allison freezes, Air Force One. Her dream since she was a teenager. She never thought it would actually happen. Later that evening, the scene cuts to the headquarters of General Rodionov in Estonia. Rodionov is fuming, pacing back and forth as he rages against the president's decision to team up with the United States. He's had enough. Without missing a beat, Rodionov drags the prime minister, a staunch supporter of the deal, into the room. Rodionov's grip on Estonia's oil is slipping, and the thought of losing control to the US is too much to bear. He'll do whatever it takes to keep his power. The scene shifts to an Air Force One pilot returning home, only to find his family held hostage by Nikolai, one of Rodionov's ruthless henchmen. Without wasting a moment, Nikolai demands the pilot call the president's staff and tell them he's unavailable for work tomorrow. The pilot hesitates but does as told. But it's too late. Nikolai coldly shoots him and his family, leaving no survivors. Meanwhile, an American agent, responsible for safeguarding aircraft logistics data, is about to get into his car. Before he can sit down, he's blindsided from behind and knocked out cold. The attacker is Joan, another of Rodionov's enforcers. Joan quickly accesses the sensitive data, and soon Rodionov's group gains full control of the aircraft logistics. The next day, Allison's eyes light up as she steps onto Air Force One for the first time. The plane is massive, sleek, and far beyond anything she's imagined. Sam ushers her inside quickly, needing to be settled before the president arrives. Moments later, Falcon, the president of the United States, steps aboard. He's all business, heading straight to his private room as the plane gets ready for takeoff. But there's a hidden threat on board. Nikolai has snuck in as one of the pilots, and Joan is silently taking out an agent in the rear cabin. As the plane cuts through the night sky, one of the pilots tries to get in touch with the control center, but there's no response. The server's been hijacked. Just then, Nikolai takes out both pilots and sends a chilling message to Rodionov that Air Force One is now in their hands. Back in the cabin, a journalist presses Falcon about Estonia. The president calmly explains that Estonia's president requested the cooperation, claiming vast oil reserves that rarely make it to the state treasury. But no one's listening to that now. Suddenly, Nikolai taps into the plane's sound system. Rodionov's voice crackles through, sending shockwaves through the passengers. They're hijacked. Rodionov makes it clear that the president's authority is gone. All satellites and servers are under their control. The president must follow orders for now. Realizing the danger, Sam, head of security, immediately acts. He pulls the president into a special room with two agents and tells the passengers to stay calm in the middle cabin. One agent stays with them, while Sam sends the rest of the security team to search the plane for the infiltrators. Shortly after, a journalist from Estonia, secretly one of Rodionov's men, takes out one of the agents guarding the passengers. He's not alone. Another infiltrator on board makes it clear that there are now 4 of them. As chaos brews, 2 agents rush into the cockpit but are taken out instantly by Joan, who's lurking in the shadows. Joan knocks a code signaling Nikolai, who swiftly announces their control over Air Force One. He demands the president leave the secure room immediately and threatens to harm the passengers if he doesn't comply. To prove they're in charge, Nikolai gives the plane a violent shake, piercing Sam's leg with a shard. Sam grits his teeth, telling Allison her priority is protecting the president. With a quick instruction to move to safety, he focuses on his injury. Nikolai isn't backing down. He gives the president 20 seconds to step out, counting down with deadly precision. The president, forced to comply, leaves the secure room and watches two agents fall as Joan strikes again from behind. The president is escorted to the B-class cabin, where Rodinov demands a video confession. Cancel Estovia's cooperation and publicly denounce its leader and people. Rodinov gives him 1 hour. The journalist keeps a close eye on the president, but when his focus slips, the president makes a move. He tries to resist, but he's quickly subdued. Meanwhile, Joan prepares to enter the B-class cabin, knocking 5 times to signal his presence. Allison notices and springs into action. When the journalist leaves to wait for the president, Allison makes her move. She knocks 5 times, mimicking Joan's signal, and finally the door opens. A brutal fight breaks out between Joan and Allison, but Allison is too skilled. She takes him down with ruthless precision, eliminating one more threat. The scene then shows inside the passenger cabin, where one of Rodinov's henchmen keeps a tight watch on the hostages, including officials and high-profile figures. He notices movement coming from the room next door, where Sam is. As he moves to investigate, the journalist steps in, gun raised. With Joan already dead at Allison's hands, the journalist quickly alerts Nikolai, who is still on the move. Nikolai slams the plane into autopilot, rushing to Joan's location. Meanwhile, Allison and the president are stuck, unsure of their next move. A voice cuts through the tension. It's the journalist warning Allison to surrender or else he'll kill Sam, her uncle. Then he demands Sam persuade her to give up. Sam, resolute, tells Allison to protect the president, knowing they're all dead anyway. Enraged by Sam's defiance, the journalist doesn't hesitate and shoots. Sam, then the hostages, are gone in an instant. The gunshots echo through the plane. Allison's heart drops as she realizes Sam is likely dead. In a panic, she grabs the president, urging him to head to the emergency room. They'll parachute out, but Nikolai is already there. Allison fires. She misses, but the bullet grazes the president's hand. It's not a serious wound, but the tension is unbearable. After that, Allison and the president parachuted out of the plane, hitting the ground hard but safely. Back on the ground, the journalist and his comrade cursed under their breath as they realized their targets had escaped. The journalist quickly informed Rodinov about their getaway, mentioning that the president and his agent had parachuted near a valley close to Russia. Rodinov's reaction was immediate. He ordered his men to destroy Air Force One and double their efforts to find the president's landing spot. Meanwhile, chaos erupted at the Air Force One control center. The plane had vanished from the radar, leaving everyone scrambling. In a panic, they contacted the White House. Mark, the president's chief of staff, broke the news to the vice president. His voice grim, Mark admitted that plane crash survivors were few and far between. The vice president, looking troubled, quickly ordered Mark to travel to Estovia and coordinate the search for any crash survivors. Meanwhile, Allison and the president were moving fast, seeking cover. Allison suggested heading to higher ground to get a signal for help. As they made their way up, Rodinov sent wave after wave of soldiers to comb the valley, hunting them down. Not long after that, Allison and the president trudged through the forest all day, exhausted and on edge. When they stumbled upon a small hut, they decided to rest for the night. Inside, Allison tended to the president's injured hand, her mind racing. She couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. The hijackers had known the plane would be vulnerable and were aware of Sam, her late uncle. As the night grew darker, Allison and the president sat in a corner of the hut, trading stories. The president apologized for Sam's death, and Allison, despite the pain, spoke fondly of him, how he'd been a father to her after her parents died. She believed Sam would be proud of her for protecting the president. The next morning, Allison woke up to find herself leaning on the president's shoulder. Embarrassed, she quickly apologized, but the president just smiled and said, "No need, no one's jealous, I'm still single." They packed up and continued their journey, But things took a turn. Rodinov's men were nearby, ready to pounce. Allison wasted no time, taking out a few of them with ease. But it wasn't enough. More henchmen kept coming. Realizing they were outmatched, the president reluctantly suggested they surrender. Allison and the president were trapped in Rodinov's headquarters, feeling completely powerless. Allison, consumed by guilt, blamed herself for failing Sam. She couldn't believe how badly things had gone wrong. Rodinov, cold and relentless, dragged the president into another room, leaving Allison with his right-hand man. As they walked, Rodinov ranted about his hatred for capitalists, blaming them for ruining his country. The president calmly responded, pointing out that the cooperation could benefit both countries, but Rodinov wouldn't listen. He had controlled the oil in Estovia for years, taking all the profits for himself. In the next room, Rodinov demanded a confession video that would cancel the deal and accuse the president of causing all the chaos. The president refused, ready to face death rather than betray his country. But when Rodinov threatened to harm Allison, the president reluctantly gave in. "You have 1 hour," Rodinov said, his voice dripping with satisfaction. Meanwhile, Allison was left alone with Rodinov's right-hand man. He tried to harass her, but she wasn't having it. In a flash, she killed him and silently made her way through the building, eliminating anyone in her path. Back in the room, the president was forced to prepare for the confession video. 2 makeup artists arrived to change his clothes and apply makeup for the recording. But just as the cameras were about to roll, Allison struck. Armed with a rifle, she launched a surprise attack, taking down Rodinov's men one by one. The sound of gunfire echoed through the building, and it didn't take long for Rodinov and the president to realize Allison was fighting back. Shortly after that, Allison wiped out Rodinov's men one by one, leaving him face to face with the president. Rodinov snarled, demanding Allison surrender, threatening to kill the president on the spot. In a flash, Rodinov shot Allison in the arm, pushing her to the brink of defeat. Just as he was about to deliver the final blow, the president turned the tables, killing Rodinov from behind. Both Allison and the president made it out alive. The next morning, Mark, the head of the president's staff, found them. Relief washed over him when he saw the president was safe, and he quickly urged them to get to a nearby airstrip and fly back to the States. But the president shook his head. "Tend to Allison's wounds first," he ordered. Mark hesitated but complied, muttering under his breath, "She's won." That stopped Allison cold. The words hit her like a punch to the gut, reminding her of something her old trainer used to say, "Never let your guard down, even when you feel like you've won." As Allison sat there, getting patched up by the Special Forces soldiers, she casually asked about their unit. They confirmed what she already knew. Then she mentioned Commander Alex. The soldiers exchanged a quick look, confirming they'd just spoken to him. Suddenly, Allison sprang into action. One by one, the soldiers dropped. Calmly, she wiped her hands, revealing the truth. She'd made up the whole story about Alex. They'd bought it. Alex wasn't a commander. He was just a guy who owned a bakery down the street. It clicked for Allison. Mark and these soldiers were the traitors she had been hunting all along. As the tension in the room hit its peak, Mark suddenly turned on the president, revealing he had been working with General Rodinov all along. But before he could strike, Allison acted fast, taking him down with a clean shot. The danger was over, but only for a moment. They rushed to the small airstrip, where the president made a bold choice and turned down the plane waiting for him, deciding to fly it himself. As they soared into the sky, he exchanged a quick glance with Allison, a silent connection passing between them. Then, with the public watching, he spoke out, declaring his survival and reaffirming the unbreakable alliance between the United States and Estovia. After a brief pause, he dropped a bombshell. He planned to propose to Allison, leaving the future wide open and full of endless possibilities. So the moral of the story is, if you're going to hijack Air Force One, make sure Allison's not on board unless you enjoy getting wrecked by a woman who trained harder than her uncle's trust issues.